It's 2024, and you know what that means? Shop tour. Let's do it. So 2023 was a wild ride, and my shop changed quite a bit during that year. I got some new tools, changed up some organization, and shuffled things around just a little bit. So I'm gonna walk you through my shop just like I did last year, but I'm gonna show you what I've changed. And at the end of the video, I've got some big news to share, so be sure to stick around for that. All right, let's do it. Just like I showed you last time, I've got to move this cart out of the way so that I can get all the way around my workbench. Our first stop is here at the miter stand, and you'll notice that I've changed up my miter saw. Early in the year, I did a YouTube short asking y'all which miter saw you liked the best and would recommend for me. At the time, I had a Harbor Freight, and it was great. It was way too big, and it was pretty precise, but I needed something better. So I upgraded to this Makita, which has been fantastic. I've had it for about 6 months and haven't had any problems with it. It's rock solid, and it's got pretty decent dust collection. Now, speaking of dust collection, I still use this dust hood with a bucket at the bottom so the sawdust will drain down into it. But I also use the integrated dust collection on the saw itself. It's okay, it's not great, but I also bought a set of plans for a dust collection system that goes behind the fence, so I'm hoping that will improve the dust collection even more. Now, underneath the miter saw, I have this new rigid vacuum that is very small and compact, and I've routed it to a dust cyclone system that feeds into a bucket. Now, the reason why I did this is because I want the miter saw to have its own dedicated dust collection system, and that one day I can get away from this Craftsman stand and build myself my own miter saw station, hopefully with a flip top that I can put another tool on as well. All of that will have the dust collection integrated underneath. All right, let's move on down. Our next stop is right here, where I used to have an old bandsaw that my dad gave me. I put that in storage because I just don't have time to fix it up right now. And I moved this mobile cart in its place. It used to sit right where I am, and I had to move it every time. It has a lot of the same tools on the top, but I've made some major modifications down below for 2 reasons. 1, storage, but 2, I got a new tool. Now, the tool is an Ortur Laser Master 3, and I had to build an enclosure for it so that I could suck all the fumes out and kick it out the garage. It's a little bit of a process to get the tools from the top of the tool cart off and the laser on top, but I think it's worth it, especially when I'm not using the laser a lot. I can stow it away. So looking under the hood, you can see my laser setup. I've got my laser on the right with the aluminum bed, and it vents out on the right-hand side. I have my air assist on the left and my surge protector where everything is plugged in. And so when it's time to start a job, I fire it up, close it up, and then I can walk away and work on something else. Continuing over to the left, I've got my Harbor Freight dust collection system, same as I did last year. So let me get these tools back over here, and then I'll continue the tour this way. Now, I still have the same Ron Paulk inspired workbench, but I made one big modification to it, which is the leg system. I was putting it on sawhorses, which made it kind of rickety, and I also wanted to lift it up a little bit to get more storage under it. So I used some 4x4s and 2x4s to get it up off the ground a little bit more, and now I can store a whole lot more under there. Now, moving to the other side of the workbench, I made a big change down here. So that big change was to move my air compressor from under here on the left to over here on the right. It may not seem like a big deal, but when I went from my left to my right, since I'm right-handed, it's a lot more efficient, and it's a lot easier when I'm working on my projects to just grab from this side. Now, looking behind me, you'll see that the American flag behind me is missing. And the reason why is that I sold it. And the story about how I sold it is coming up in a future video, so you'll have to stick around for that. Now, the flags over here are the same, but I added to them with this one from a friend from work. Now, continuing on, I've still got my tool shelf here. I am really happy with this. I've put some tools away that were up here that I hardly ever used, and put a couple up here that I use a little more often. And I even have some stain and some other supplies up here as well. There's just something about being able to pick something right up off the shelf and be able to use it immediately that I just love and really improve my shop efficiency. Now, back to the tool wall. I showed you this last year, and I also showed you how to organize it, and I'm okay with it. Like, I like it, but I have plans in the future for improving it. I'm not really in love with the pegboard system. I have the tools out that I use the most and need the most, so I'm happy with that. But just how they're stored here needs a little bit of improvement. Now, there's a ton of videos on YouTube on how to improve your tool organization, so I'm not sure if I'm going to make a dedicated video for it or not. And now onto my workbench that I showed you last time, and these drawers were here, but I added these drawers here as well. I also got some bins that fit under here that gave me a much better storage. Before, I just had some bags and a couple of boxes. Wasn't very well organized. Now, it's a lot better. Now, this corner could use a whole lot of love. It's basically just a stowaway corner with all my extra stuff that doesn't have a home. Definitely an area that needs improvement. Finishing out my tour, you've got my Craftsman toolbox, which has remained unchanged. And then finally, back where we started, we've got my clamp storage, which actually has quite a few extra clamps. And then you've got my scrap wood storage, which actually has been tidied up quite a bit. All right, so as promised, the big news. As of the time of recording this video, I'm about a week out from moving out of this house. So when you watch this video, I won't even be living here anymore. Our plan is to retire in Alabama, where we're going to build our own house and I will have my own shop. Now, that sounds wonderful, but it is going to be a long time from now. We're going to do a little bit of time in Texas to do kind of like an internship with a company you may know. But in the meantime, I'm not sure what my shop's going to look like. My current plan is to retrofit a trailer to fit just enough of the tools and equipment that I need to continue to run my business and still produce videos. So my next big project is to figure out what all can fit in that trailer and get it all moved in before the movers come. And I will do my best to document that whole journey as I go. All right, guys, I hope this video has inspired you to get out in your shop, maybe change some things around and improve your efficiency. That's it for this video. We'll see you next time.